A year ago, Ukrainians were facing a tough choice of what they should prepare for New Year and Christmas tables. Now they are saddened because not everyone can join the table. Besides that, the major wish remains the same. It is victory. In 2022, when Western intelligence gave us 3 days, Ukraine's armed forces did their best to push the Russians back far so that people could celebrate. But still, Russian strikes hit civilian and critical infrastructure. This question reveals a more comprehensive discussion that is ongoing in Ukraine. Are holidays relevant right now, and if so, to which extent should we celebrate them? Today we will talk about how Ukrainians are prepared to celebrate Christmas and New Year. Hello and welcome, this is the Solutions from Ukraine podcast, which is brought to you by the Rubryka media outlet. My name is Vladyslav Faraponov, I am the co-host of this podcast and also an analyst at Internews-Ukraine, a Ukrainian media NGO. And I'm joined by my colleague Anastasia Rudenko, who is editor-in-chief of the independent all-Ukrainian Rubryka media outlet. And before we start, let me remind you that you can support our work at Patreon. Hello, Nastya.
Hello, Vlad and our listeners. Yes, Christmas is coming and the New Year too. And consequently, Ukraine's armed forces are doing their best to keep the holiday for Ukraine. But still, victory is far from being reached yet. And given these blackouts, Russia really wanted to turn off Ukrainian life and its real meaning. In that terms, Russian strategy has not changed.
Even though it didn't work, actually. And also the point was to take this Christmas and the New Year from Ukrainians, again, in its real meaning, that we could not celebrate. By the way, it is interesting that the war made more people think the date, actually, when Ukraine should celebrate Christmas. So, a long time ago, Ukrainians used to celebrate it on January the 7th. Generally, celebrating Christmas on December 25th is often associated with Catholicism, and January the 7th with Orthodoxy. But in fact, the date of the celebration is the same for everyone. The difference is only in the system of the calendar. So in 2018, the time of Ukraine's National Republic, which is the name of the state which was formed in 2017, Ukraine switched to another calendar. It is called the Gregorian calendar, and it is the calendar we use now. And actually, Western churches celebrate Christmas according to this calendar, while Eastern churches celebrate Christmas according to the Julian calendar. This is the issue which was on the agenda several Christmas right now, and in 2017 the Ukrainian parliament, the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, declared that December 25th is a Christmas day too and a public holiday. So since then, many Ukrainians have celebrated two Christmases. This time, almost half of Ukrainians would like to celebrate it on the same day with the West, which supports Ukraine and helps deter the Russian aggression. But from a broader perspective, it is a logical point of the so-called Westernization, like getting out of the so-called Russian world, where religion actually is one of the major sources of even propaganda.
Yes, and this Christmas will be more representative, I can say, in that term. As far as I see, people are not going to celebrate it on January the 7th, as this year has been really hard, and the war touched every family, and I'm sure that every family will be cheering for the armed forces. At the same time, for a lot of people, it will be first Christmas and New Year without the loved ones. So we have to commemorate it.
Yes, absolutely. And also we have just marked 300 days of the full-scale war, and Ukrainians still cannot themselves become tired of the war. So as we observe this, Russia again miscalculated Ukraine. And let's continue with more New Year solutions. But first, it is important to mention that even right now, as you might think, people are busy with the consequences of the Russian attacks. Actual citizens of Kiev signed a petition that they would rather not cheer for establishing the main New Year or Christmas tree in the very downtown, arguing that it would gather a lot of people on the square, and it will also require a lot of electricity to enlight this tree. So even right now, at the very threat of being attacked by Russian missiles, by drones, even at these circumstances, direct democracy was in place in this case, and it's really remarkable, I would say. So, and also, it is like another question that why actually the local self-government decided to put it there, but still people articulated their desire.
Yes, those in favor of installing the New Year trees argued that they are the symbols of invincibility and unbroken spirit. And despite that, people desperately need positive emotions, especially now. So it sends the following message to the world: whatever Russia does, it doesn't ruin the plans of Ukrainians.
Yes, and on the other hand, those who think it's not the right time to celebrate, they claim that one should better actually donate those money to the armed forces, and celebration can wait. And also, there is another tendency that we have noticed, that there are more Santa Claus residents than usual at once, which was called actually Ded Moroz. It is actually a Russian tradition. So it is another point that Russia's full-scale war changed in terms of attitude. It is more of a cultural dramatic shift that sometimes even we Ukrainians do not notice. But if we see it like in a more broader timeline, I would say Ukrainians are now trying to give back everything that used to be Russian. And such residences of Santa Claus, again, it is not Ded Moroz, right, are located in regions' capitals, and it is, and despite the war, it remains really popular for children, of course.
I know more examples also of New Year solutions. In Mykolaiv, in the south of Ukraine, people made a New Year tree from a mosquito net, which reminds of soldiers on the front line. Kharkiv, the largest city in eastern Ukraine, which remains under constant shelling, local authorities decided to put the Christmas tree underground in the metro station, like in safer place.
Yes, absolutely. And in Mykolaiv, for example, that Nasya has just mentioned, so it is a monument to actually Saint Nicholas, and it at first like it was covered by the large bags of sand, and right now actually volunteers they made they made this net, and now it is covered with the New Year tree decorations. Also, like it is interesting that many Ukrainians they used to go to Lviv, actually one of the largest cities in Western Ukraine, the so-called cultural capital of Ukraine. So people really loved to go there for Christmas holidays, for the New Year, and it is a long tradition. And there used to be a traditional market which will not be installed actually this year. So Lviv city mayor Andriy Sudovy noted that Russia has stolen some visible part of our children's childhood, and we cannot let them take more.
But it sounds depressive. So, what is the solution proposed?
So they came up with the model: no cent should be allocated from the city budget. So all was made by local entrepreneurs, and the lights have been turned on only for several hours, and no additional generators are needed to, which is wise, I think. But again, there won't be any traditional market, so of course the atmosphere perhaps will be different. But again, the major symbol, the Christmas tree, is already there.
That's it, of course, but if we speak about general tendency, the idea is not to get children deprived of their rights regarding the holiday. Let's not forget that there are at least 6 million people who are internally displaced persons, and these families include children.
Yes, and before the full-scale war, I even recalled that there were some competitions, some surveys made by the media about which Christmas tree is better, which is prettier, I mean, in which city. And it was very interesting that like people from like from different cities, they even tried to compete with their friends, for example, like saying, like have you seen our Christmas tree? It is better than yours, or others. And what about Kiev, Nastya?
Oh, Kiev, it's my favorite story. It is called the Unbreakable Christmas Tree. Its decorations are put to the Christmas tree to give credits to Ukraine's international partners. It is illuminated by the generators, and people can also charge their phones there. Majority of Christmas trees we have posted online on our social pages on Twitter and Facebook. Follow us, Rubryka Solutions from Ukraine.
Yes, but it is also interesting to talk about the Christmas in Ukraine in general. So let's talk more about how it is celebrated in Ukraine. I mean, traditionally.
Well, people in Ukraine have been creating an image of wealth, happiness, peace, and tranquility in their homes on Christmas Eve. Traditionally, the hostess prepared 12 festive evening dishes. The dish made of pounded wheat with raisins, poppy seeds, nuts, and honey, called kutya, is the main traditional dish on the table and is placed near the most honorable place in the house, an altar, a corner of the room where Ukrainians put valuable things like icons, the Bible, and candles. Kutya is the first thing everyone eats before tasting other dishes. There is also a custom of sending children with this dish to their relatives, especially godparents.
Yes, and usually people sing songs. The most famous one is Carol of the Bells. We would like to remind you that this song is originally written in Ukrainian by Mykola Leontovich and is called Shedrik. And you can listen it here for a while. So generally, Christmas caroling, called Kolyada starts on Christmas Eve, and traditional children are the first ones to go caroling. And besides them, adult carols are also caroling on the first day of the Christmas holidays. Then they work with the Christmas star and the bell. A group of carolers is usually consists of 5 people, a leader, a person who literally holds this star, also a person who rings the bell, and others who are helping actually with the caroling. Sometimes they also wear costumes of some devil, a bear, or a goat, but also they can wear some traditional stuff.
During this hard time, we would like to thank those who stayed with us. In fall, it was 8 million people on our social media pages, and we produced a lot of great things this year despite the war. War is not an excuse for us. We will celebrate, doesn't matter with Christmas tree or not. More importantly, without Russians.
Absolutely, and you can support us at Patreon by clicking on the link in the description wherever you tuned in. And your support is really crucial for us. We will do more reporting on Ukraine next year, and of course, Ukraine will ultimately prevail.
So Merry Christmas
and Happy New Year!
Ukraine will win.